gara per l'Italia con Emiliano Portale, Virgilio dell'esercito italiano, the first rider for CCI First Nation Cup, Emiliano Portale for Italy, Virgilio dell'esercito italiano.
Avversari training series, intrattivo immediato, poi il via per il tizio 4 del centro. Il primo di essere il campo della Italia con il nuovo quale per dire per il italiano. Questo è il Italy e il nuovo quale di vedere italiano.
Welcome back to Montelibretti in Italy as we look forward to the jumping phase of the first leg of the 23 FEI Eventing Nations Cup. And the first of the riders to get us underway will be the first of the Italian team riders, Emiliano Portale, with Virgilio Dell'Uscito Italiano, a horse owned by the Uscito Italiano. That is the Italian army. Such supporters in Italy. Let's introduce you to our show jumping track. They've actually moved it onto the surface given the difficult weather conditions over the last few weeks rather than the traditional grass arena. But we have 12 numbered fences, 15 jumping efforts. Rattle at the second, but got away with it. Big square oxer and the back rail goes. The Italian team in 5th at the moment of the 6 teams lining up this weekend. But it is pretty tight on that leaderboard. Just the one pole down so far for Emiliano. Nicely through the double of uprights at 8 A and B. That was deemed to be one of the more challenging questions on the course. And he's not hanging around actually. You can really tell he's his speed in the second half of the track. Just needs to get through this final combination. And then the last. Little way off it, but clears it well. One pole down for Emiliano Portale and Virgilio Dell'Uscito Italiano. And that will see him go forward on 38.4. We'll have to double check the time, of course, for him as well. But I have it as pole down for Emiliano. And the show jumping here in Montelibretti is traditionally pretty tough, if I'm honest, as well. Since 2008, on average, you generally get 11% jumping clear round. That looked to be 78.03, so let's have a look as to what that time allowed was. We'll get an update for you on his results that he'll be taking forward in just a moment. Now, though, it is really caught the eye. Yesterday, the first of our Dutch riders for the Netherlands. It is Stefan Hazelager with his own James Bond coming forward on a score of 40.6. That left them in 41st place after the dressage. Showed a huge amount of potential in the first phase, but the tension just got the better of them, unfortunately.
Girardi. Portale, ma devi fare Girardi.
Ooh, and the third goes. Didn't get very high over that upright at all. Unfortunately, the fourth goes as well. So 8 to add so far for the first riders. Rattled 5 but got away with it. Gets the 6 stride to 6. Didn't quite maintain the straightness through the double of verticals at B, but actually just bought himself a little bit of space. So 2 down so far. For Steph. 4 jumping efforts remain as he comes to the final line. Ooh. And the last 2 efforts of the treble combination go as well. And the last, that proves to be very, very expensive. 20 jumping penalties. And actually, he was the drop score prior to the jumping phases. So The Dutch team will be very much hoping that they don't need to count that 20 at the end of the competition, but still a young horse with lots to look forward to. Only an 11-year-old, James Bond, ridden by Stefan Hazelager, finish their show jumping round. So now we look to the first of our Austrian riders. Austria in second in the team silver position in the Nations Cup. It is Roland Pulsinger with Tiefenhoff's Lavallino, a really nice 9-year-old that actually really caught the eye in the first day, or the first day I should say, on Thursday. 31.2 their starting score, so it leaves them inside the top 10 individually as well. This is absolutely an important round for the Austrian team. They're within a fence of our team leaders, Belgium. Can they put the pressure on? Wouldn't be a horse with much experience at the level. One of the counting scores for Austria as well. Just lost a little bit of quality in the canter coming round that turn 3. Makes it a pretty tight turn back on himself here to 5. Perhaps just aware that he would have lost a little bit of time. Looking to keep moving on the clock. Beautifully done through 7. On the 5 strides down to 8 A and B. Unfortunately, 9 goes. So 1 pole down. So far for Roland. Just the last to go. Nicely clear of the last, and this looks like a really talented horse for the future. Just the 1 pole today, so it'll be 4 jumping penalties to add. That'll drop him outside of the top 10 individually. 35.2. His score will confirm his time as soon as it becomes available as well. So next to come forwards. It should be the first of our Belgian riders, Senna van Vavake and Google van Ulsingen. First of the Belgian team riders. They lead the team competition after the first phase, 82.1. This is the drop score for them, 32.4. But it's a pretty good score to be dropping. So a clear round from Senna would certainly be very, very valuable to the Belgian team. Just holds before that ox at 6. Ooh, rode his luck at the first element of the double, but I think it stayed. And 10 does go. So 1 to add at the moment for Sanavayaka. Clear of the last and home. So just 4 jumping penalties. Google van Ulsingen 32.4. 4:89 is their score, their time, I should say. So now it is Eduardo Maribera Pomez for Spain, the first fast Spanish rider, first position, coming forward on a score of 36.0. Still looking for our first clear round. Looking very keen to get on with the task at hand. Spain actually in 6th place of the teams coming forward to the jumping. Very keen down that related distance, but the horse careful enough to get away with it. It's always a challenge on those horses that are very, very forward, and unfortunately pays the price going into the double combination there. Did wonder if he might. You do have to take that extra time to set up. Not making Eduardo's job very easy at all, getting more keen in fact as well as the round goes on. So 2 rails down so far. That'll be 8 jumping penalties to add, and comes down the final line. So 8 for Eduardo Villadafren for Spain as the first rotation of team riders. Just waiting on confirmation of that time allowed as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few time penalties to add to Eduardo's score too. It's 0.4 of a penalty for every second over the optimum. As next, it is the second of our Italian team riders. The first of them, Emiliano Portali, just added the 1 pole down. Now it is Fosco Girardi and Euphorie. So Fosco owns himself just inside the top 25 in 23rd position, coming forward 33.8. Still looking for our first clear round. It wouldn't be unheard of that we've 4-star class here at Montelibretti without any clear rounds inside the time. Usually, though, would be a case of around 11% on average since 2008. So with a field of 48, would probably be looking at around 4 or 5. Watch this space, though. Time allowed 76 seconds at the start of the competition. The ground jury can adjust that within the first 3 competitors should they feel they wish to do so. Ooh, unfortunately 10 goes for Fosco Girardi. So 4 jumping penalties to add. And rattling their way through the treble combination as well. Okay, one of those may well have gone too, so could be some time penalties to add as well. Next it is the second of the Dutch team riders, Jordi Wilken. Jordi, who is a real young superstar for Dutch eventing, comes forward with Wilbert Bow. 14 years of age, Wilbert Bow, 33.2 in the first phase. Still looking for our first clear round over the coloured poles. The course designer, Emmanuel Addis. Oh, very hairy moment. Quickly got to recover. Just lost their balance and slipped round the corner. Jordi did a super job there. Wilbert Bow showing his honesty as well. Very quickly back at the task in hand. Nicely through the double combination. First of the Dutch riders, Stefan Hazelager, unfortunately didn't have the happiest of times, 5 down. So Jordi under a bit of pressure. Back rail of the Oxer at 9 goes, so 1 pole down so far, 4 to add. Through the treble combination, just the last. And he clears that nicely. So through the finish flags, 1 pole down, 4 jumps for Jordi Wilken and Wilbert Bow. 80.94 is his time. So that would certainly be time penalties to add as well. The time proving pretty influential thus far. 76 seconds was the initial time allowed given. As next to come forward for Austria, Robin Erkinger, and highlight 9, 36.2 their score coming forward. So that left them in 34th position, and actually is the score for the Austrians at 85.1 after the dressage. Rider Roland Pulsinger just had the 1 down, so second does go for Robin. It's 4 penalties for every. Economical on his turn. To 5, and 5 goes as well, and rattles 6, but it stays. So 2 rails at the moment, make that 3. Unfortunately, the first part of the combination at 8 comes up quite short, coming down to the 2 verticals at 8, A and B. Just getting in a little bit tight, perhaps. Oh, and very flat over that Oxer. This, unfortunately, a round that is rather falling apart for Robin. 5 down so far. 6. And to the last over the final fence. So 6 poles down is 24 jumps. Robin Erkinger and highlight 9. Worthy drop score for the Austrian. Looks to be 1.6 time penalties as well to add 81.32. We're waiting for our first clear round. Yeah, only seen 1 combination inside the top 10 individually. Next to come forward, the first of our Swiss riders, just the riders from Switzerland representing them here this weekend. Roxane Gonfart and Galexier de Feliard. 33.2. Their score coming into jumping. That left them in 19th place after the dressage. Big jump over the first. A little pocket rocket. Nicely through the combination. B&B taking no chances on that turn back actually to the Oxer at 10. Gives herself plenty of space. On the forward 7 strides here. Pops really nicely through that. Still looking for that elusive first clear round. Are we about to see it? Oh, not. The middle part of the goes. And that was really unlucky actually, because that was an absolutely superb round from this young combination from Switzerland. 1 pole down, so 4 jumping penalties to add. Looks like a few time penalties as well, 6.8 to add in total. So next to come forward, it is another really key round for the Belgian team. The Belgian team actually leading the Nations Cup standings after dressage. 82.1 for their chef to keep. The husband of their first rider, Lara de Liederkerke-Meyer, a lady who has been under pressure on so many occasions for Belgium. She's in 4th place individually as well. Ducati d'Arville, the horse she brings forward, 28.3. This is an important round. Plenty of scope. Ducati d'Arville cuts inside the timing. Well, she's aware that that time is pretty tight. And actually spends quite a bit of time in the air, this horse. So just taking no chances. Beautifully done through that combination. I'd say the clock would be a slight this stage, but if she can leave the poles up, should be the first to do so. Such a difference when a horse has a conscience and really wants to leave those poles in the cups. Ducati d'Arville absolutely doing everything to leave the poles up, and she clears the last. So the first 2 have jumped the colour poles clear. What will her time be? Because no jumping penalties to add to that very good score of 28.3. Looks like it might be a 1.6 time. She'll take that. We'll see her sit, I think, within the top 10 overnight. So 28.3, 29.9 score to go forward. This country. That is a very, very good round for Belgium. And I think she'll be very pleased with that. Lots to look forward to for Lara de Liederkerke-Meyer as the competition continues. Now, though, it is the next fast Spanish riders. Star, ridden by Mario Nicola Garrido. And this is a horse who did not give Mario the easiest of times in the first phase. 49.8 in the dressage. very much was ready for the jumping phases on Thursday afternoon. But they've got to put the pressure now on the jumping. And actually, it isn't going to be a dressage competition. We've absolutely seen that. Big rangy horse acrobat start. The Oxer goes there. So one pole down. So to the Spanish riders, Edouard. He had Dauphin, had 2 red. Did a good job in getting himself a little bit of space of the double combination there. It's a 13-year-old. Owned by Aurélie Riedvig. Juliette Bardet. Another royal. Last as well, the final line proving expensive. 12 jumping penalties to add for Spain and Mario Nicolas Garrido. Will be a couple of time penalties as well. 1.6 time penalties, so 3.6 for him. Next away, it is Matteo Orlando. Quality in time for the Italian team, the 3rd Italian rider as we head into this 3rd rotation of team riders. The club, those that has been so far, Lara de Liederkerke-Meyer, Ducati d'Arville on 29.9. Goes one pole down so far. Oxer at 9 has caught plenty out actually, and he jumped that really well, quality in time. And the final line, just the last to go. Ooh, rattled the last but got away with it, so 1 pole down, quality in time. See that pole just going back up. And looks to be inside the time as well. So just the 4 to add. They'll go forward to cross country on 40.0. And actually the Italian team are doing a pretty good job here because they've had a couple of riders with just 1 pole down. To come forwards, it is another of the Dutch teams counting scores in the Nations Cup. It is Sander de Jong and Yareli MBF. It's just a 9-year-old at 5.6, their starting score. Dutch team in 4th after dressage, but from everything we've seen so far, there is going to be plenty of team leaderboard as well as the individual leaderboard. Another to just cut inside that timing marker. Take no chances coming back to this vertical. Sanna de Jong, actually, who won here 12 months ago. That was with Enjoy, her top championship ride. All of the poles in the cups on that occasion. And the Oxer at 9 goes. Not the fast, as I said a little bit earlier, to have fallen of that. It comes up after the turn pretty quickly. If she can just keep it to the one pole down, Sanna de Jong and Yareli MBF come through the finish. What will her time be? I'd imagine a few time penalties as well. A big horse, but 80.41 seconds, which means 1.2 time penalties. So 5.2 to add in total. And that gives her a going forward to the cross country, which we'll have live for you on FEI TV. Now it is the turn of Harold Ambrose, Lexicon 2. Harold, who owns this really smart young horse himself, rides for Austria 29.5 in 7th place coming forward. So clear around inside the time here, of which we're yet to see anybody achieve that. Would see him go up the leaderboard. Would be a really, really important round actually for Austria. On Belgium enormously. First of who rides in this 4-star. Really eye-catching test on Thursday. Be travelling pretty quickly as well, I think. Very, very nicely done. Harold Ambrose, Lexicon 2, leaves all of the poles in the cups. What is his time? Ooh, originally over the time, 1.6 time penalty. Same as our only other person to have left all the poles up, Lara de Liederkerke-Meyer. 4 seconds over. Time allowed of 78 seconds. Did extend it slightly after the first few horses had. So Harold Ambrose, 6 time penalties to add for him. And that is pretty good for the Austrian team. I don't think they'll be too disappointed with that at all. Sees him just drop down below Lara de Liederkerke-Meyer, but I would imagine he'll still stay within the top 10 at the end of the dressage and show jumping 31.1. His two-phase score. Here is Robin Godel. Robin, who was a massive part of the Swiss team's campaign in 2022, which ended having had a brilliant Nations Cup win in Protoni. And in Avanche as well, I think it was. Grandeur de top right. Switzerland, the only team of our Nations Cup teams actually to have already secured Olympic qualification. Fielding just the 3 riders this weekend. 34.5 is their combination score coming forward. All of the poles in the cups. Swiss eventing has been in exceptional form over the last couple of years. Oh, the last goes. And that is a real shame for Robin, because a super round otherwise. So 4 jumping, and there'll be a couple of time penalties, 1.2 as well. So 5.2 in total. And that sees total score of 39.7 for Robin goes out, and for Big Diamond. Now, key players, not only are they a really important counting score for the Belgian team, 25.7 the score they bring forward, but they're the individual runners-up after the dressage. It is Jarno Verwemp and Mahalia, owned by Jarno alongside Mark Rigau. 25.7 their score forwards. Such an impressive first phase test from this combination. Goes around the outside of the time marker, but it's moving. That's important. Sometimes quick as cutting the corner. Emmanuel, the show jump course designer here in Protoni and Montelibretti. Protoni, of course, the venue of the World Championships last year. That's about 30 minutes south of Rome. Montelibretti, 30 minutes north of Rome. Jarno, so far, so good. And I would say this time is looking pretty good as well. So the question is, can he come through the final 4 fences? First of all, leave them standing, but also what look like he's left them standing. You can hear the crowd cheering him on. And Jarno Verwemp shows us how it should be done. Mahalia gives us our first faultless round. Look at that, 73 seconds, 76. That is absolutely exceptional. And Jarno Verwemp will be no worse than second, 25.7 going forward to the cross country tomorrow. A big round for the Belgian team, but also for him individually as well. And Belgium, one of those teams chasing Olympic qualification this year. Got to pick it up through the Nations, of which the team that finishes highest in the Nations hasn't already secured a ticket will qualify, or they've got to be picking up one of the 2 tickets on offer in Harada in the European Championships in August. They're doing a great job here so far. Now it is Volney de la Trebal, Montelibretti for Spain, 36.7 their starting score coming forwards. Oh, got in a little bit. Actually, it worked quite well because it meant that he could really move up the distance to the 4th. That is on the 6 strides. I should say to the 6th. It's on the 6 strides. So the 3rd team rider for Spain. Oh, first middle part of the combination goes. But he gets the last. So some jumping penalty. Interesting to see the time of Volney de la Trebal inside the time. So just the 4 penalties and go forward on the score of 40.7. It's interesting. Not seen anybody really make the time, and then 2 of them come along at once. So into the final rotation of team riders. And now it is the turn of Evelina Bertoli and her own Quick Joe. 32.7 there, 32.9 their starting score. That left them in 17th overnight. They could move up with a clear inside the time here, certainly. And they are one of the counting scores for the Italian team. Quickly through that combination, actually. Evelina, really economical about her round so far. 78 seconds is the time allowed. But it's proven to be pretty tricky. Ooh, as past the combination goes. But she gets the last. And she comes home with 4 jumping penalties and no time penalties, so just the 4 to add for Evelina. Bit of 4-faultitis for the Italian team. Emiliano Portele, our first to go. Matteo Orlandi also both picking up 4 faults. As here comes Meryl Blom. Meryl with Vesuve d'Avrayon, 32.0. Meryl, enormously experienced. Has been such a linchpin of the Dutch eventing team over the last few years. Another of those teams looking for a qualifying ticket to Paris 2024. In the final rotation of team riders, Meryl was one of their counting scores, and they would want to count her score as well. First of their expensive round, so this is an important one. So far clear. Meryl Blom. Vesuve d'Avrayon. Oh, first pass of the combination. Another to get caught out there. And the last goes as well. So 8 jumping for Meryl Blom. Vesuve d'Avrayon. Let's have a look at her time. And it'll be a few time penalties as well. So 9.2 the total to add for Meryl. It'll still be a counting score for the Dutch. It is our leader after the first of the phases. Leah Siegel for Austria, the last of the Austrian team riders, and a combination who have won at this level previously. DSP Fighting Line, 24.5. It was a career personal best for both Leah and the horse in the first phase. They're known to be very quick in the cross country. If they can leave the poles up, they'll give themselves every chance of topping the podium. They had 3 down on the final at the World Championships last year. It was a tough enough show jumping track, it must be said, in Protoni. They still finished inside the top 25. can she hold on to her top spot? Jarno Verquimp is 25.7. That is the clubhouse leader. Here on 24.5. So she could afford to be 1 second over the time allowed, but not 2. She had to work hard, but actually DSP Fighting Line worked hard for her at that 6 as well. She was very tight on the turn coming down to this combination. Clear so far. Leah Siegel, our leader after the first phase. DSP Fighting Line, one of the most experienced horses in the field. Will it be Belgium leading into the cross-country, or can this lady hold on? Leah Siegel, DSP Fighting Line. She's left the poles up. What about the time? I think it's going to be okay. I think she's going to have held on. Yes, she has. Clear round number 2 comes courtesy of Austria. Leah Siegel and DSP Fighting Line. What an absolutely sensational performance from this combination. And it must be said, see their chances cross country as well, known for their speed in that final phase. They will be our overnight leaders individually as well. Leah will not be caught after the show jumping 24.5. Austria, big round for them. Now it is a big round for the Swiss team. Felix Vogue and Cartania, a horse that he rode at the European Championships in Avanches. 8th after dressage, 30.4 their starting score. Felix has been on Event Rider Masters podium. He's been on 5-star podiums as well. Calero, the winner of Le Moulin, 5-star for him last year. So the Swiss team only have the 3 scores to count because they only field 3 riders in their team this weekend. First 2 riders have both had a fence and a couple of time penalties apiece. Cartania doing a very good job so far. We've only had a couple of clear rounds. Could this be clear round number 3 inside the time? Felix Vogue has to add to the last. He rubs it and gets away with it. It'll be interesting to see if that just costs him a little bit of time. I don't think it does, and I think that could be a superb clear round for him. Yes, it is. Clear round number 3. That gives the Swiss team a total of 110.1 provisionally. Do check the official scoreboards, but provisionally 110.1 for the Swiss team. Let's see where that will shape them up. They've added a few penalties, about 12, as here comes the last of the Belgian riders. It is Karen Donkers. Karen, who comes forward with Fletcher van der Verenhof. It's a horse that is absolutely extraordinary. 18 years of age now. 28.1 their starting score. A horse that is to Olympic Games, to European Championships. Karen herself has been an absolute pillar of strength for the Belgian team at the highest level. Her appearances at senior championship level are well into the double figures. Would be challenging for almost more than any other European rider. Fletcher van der Verenhof is a horse that has been so consistent for her at the highest level of the sport. .1. She can hold a podium position going forward. If she leaves the poles up, she doesn't. That Oxer at 9 goes. However, that will drop her on to 32.1. It's not a disaster. Has it opened a door for Austria in the team standings? That is going to be interesting. It's going to be close, neck and neck. Clears the last. Karen van der Verenhof. Let's have a look at her time. And it is inside the time, so just the 4 to add for the... So we'll be doing some frantic calculations to see how their team score is going to shape up. And I think it is still going to be pretty healthy. Let's take a look. 87.7 should be enough to stay ahead of Austria. We'll double check that in just a second. Now though, it is Alberto Hermoso Faris and keen about 1 for the Spanish team, the last of our team. Very tight turn back. And he really sees a distance up there. The horse absolutely responded. And does he price that? He's going to have to work hard to get through this double, actually. Really super job for him there. 1 pole down so far for Albert. Oh, rattles the last, but it stays. So, the of our Spanish riders see score of 1 pole down. Next to go, Alessio Prat and Gato Soltado. Alessio owns this horse himself. Comes forward on 33.6. As a provisional score for the Dutch team of 119.2. That is provisional, but that would see them go behind Belgium, behind Switzerland as well, behind Austria. At 6, but got away with it. Comes down to the final fence. Really nicely done. I think he'll be very, very pleased with that. just possibly 0.4 of a time penalty, sneaking outside the time allowed. That'll see him go forward on a score of 34.0. A provisional team score just being calculated very swiftly, and I do repeat provisional, but 90.8 for Austria, which sees them going to stay behind Belgium in the team standings as things stand at the moment. Now it is the first rider, or the first ride I should say, for Australia's Bill Levitt. Oh, just having a slight miscommunication with the R&H Tom R. As he comes round to the first thing, he should get away with not having presented. He hadn't gone through the timing marker, so I would say I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. Well, the officials may think otherwise, but Bill comes forward with a 9-year-old owned by wife Jenny. Jenny, who's out there supporting Bill this weekend. Son Josh is competing in one of the 3-star divisions too. 31 points. Just outside the top. Bill, and actually this the lesser placed of his 2 rides. He's got another one who we'll see come forward a little bit later on this afternoon, actually inside the top 10 as well. Nicely done. Bill, who's represented Australia at 2 World Equestrian Games. And Trial 18. Got a really nice team of young horses coming through. And a really lovely round there for him as well. The music plays out. Bill Levitt, R&H at Tom R. Look to become inside the time. Wife Jenny with the backpack on there, just walking away. I think she'll be pretty happy as an owner with that performance. Puff of the cheeks from Bill. 3, that'll see him with at least 1 the top 10 going into tomorrow country. Now it is the turn of Cosmo La Riviera, Pietro Maialino for Italy, riding for owner Emilia Guerrera. 32.7 their starting score. That left them in 15th place coming forwards. We've seen a real mix from combinations actually. Some, like choosing to actually go outside the timing marker and really keep things moving forward because they feel it sets them up more nicely for that related distance. Others choosing to cut inside a little bit more, which has actually meant the distance between 5 and 6 has been a little up. Just see this horse actually really got quite underneath at 6 at the Oxer. He got away with it, but I wonder whether it'll just cost them on the time because it's a very, very good jumping round so far. But again, just added a stride in there before the 11th. And a stride here and there always just really adds up. It accumulates as the first part of the treble combination goes. Really nicely down to the 1 pole down. A few time penalties as well for Pietro Maialino. And oh no, just inside the time. I stand corrected. Very, very good judgment. And 36.7 Pietro will take forward to the jumping. And that just goes to show, we sound like we know what we're talking about as commentators, but sometimes it can absolutely be deceiving. Fair play, Pietro Maialino, Cosmo La Riviera, inside that time, which has proven to be really challenging so far today. Only a handful have achieved it. Next to go, it is Katrin Kodum-Hazrati. Haven't actually seen Henrik Adnovic just yet. Katrin comes forward with Oklahoma, the horse she rode in Bretoni last year, the World Championships, and a horse she owns alongside Nico Horf. 35.2 coming forwards. Almost a jump-off-esque turn back to that upright at 5. You can see actually you can just really ride that distance up to 6 a little bit more. Cool little trier this horse is. Oklahoma pings the last, and surely that one's going to be inside the time. Yep, the music plays out, and Katrin Kodum-Hazrati gives us clear round number 4. 1 for Jarno Verkamp, clear round number 5 in fact. Jarno Verwimp, Mahalia, they'll sit second overnight, gave us our first leaders after dressage. DSP Fighting Line also clear, so they'll hold the top spot going into the cross country. Felix Vogue, Cartania, Bill Levitt, RNH, and now Katrin Kodum-Hazrati and Oklahoma. Now it is the turn of Alberto Juni and Galway Bay Talent, owned by Alberto alongside Gordon King. 40.2 their dressage score. So who has been a regular on competing for a number of years. Oh, that was an unlucky touch. Just caught it in front. So 1 pole down so far. Comes down to the last one element of the treble combination went, and a puff of the cheeks for Alberto Juni. But is 2 rails down with Galway Bay Talent. And I think 8 jumping penalties to add. Not sure of his time, so we'll take a look out for that in just a second. And we've already gone on to the next combination, so possibly there as well. We're not entirely sure. We'll try and confirm it as soon as we can. Some of those scores are now filtering through online. As now it is du Mellet, Valentine Emsons for Belgium. 36.9 their score coming forward for this 13-year-old, owned by Philippine Mzon. Just an almost pony-like adjustment in that final stride before the big ox are at 4. The time allowed, remember, 78 seconds. Has certainly really played its part on the leaderboard as well. Plenty picked up time penalties, even those who have jumped to clear round. Ooh, plenty of height over the big ox are at 10. Really super little jumper, this horse. Esther Dumele. Just the last to go. And a quick check over the shoulder, but a lovely clear round. And inside the time as well. Clear round number 6, and it goes to Belgium. Very by the time. These rounds are actually getting quicker and quicker. It's often the way, and it's one of the benefits, isn't it, of going a little bit later on in the class, of being able to see how it's riding, being able to see where you can actually cut the corners, where you can not take any chances. And it is clear round number 6. That is a horse I'm very much looking forward to seeing in the cross country tomorrow. Heidi Brantley Larsen, SC Mr. Next to come forward for Norway, 46.0 in the dressage, left them in 44th position overnight. So we head into the final third or so. Ooh, and an early pole at 3 for them. Final third of competitors to come forwards. 45 horse and rider combination start the show jumping phase. And the back rail of the 7th goes too. So 2 poles down so far. And things just getting a little, and unfortunately a little bit untidy, is proving costly for them. 4 rails so far. 4 jumping penalties for every pole down is 16 to add at this stage. And Heidi doing a really good job through that combination to just settle things down. Unfortunately, the last goes as well, so it'll be 20 jumping to add to their score of 46 in the dressage. There'll be a time penalty on there as well. So 20 points total. Next to come forward, it is for Spain, an individual rider, and Sergio Caro with Carinel, owned by Sevilla Aventa producer. 40.9 and 42nd position coming forward to the show jumping. And 3 Spanish individual riders still to come before the end of the class. The course designer jumping, Emmanuel Addis, got him very tight there, got away with it. Just coming away from the collecting ring there at 3. We've seen 1 or 2 course out, just causes them to hang slightly. That was absolutely fine, Carinel. Nicely done that. It's around to the big oxa and then the 5 strides. Oh, just had to really wait for that before the double combination at 8A and B. Interesting to see the time for this combination. Because 78 seconds is the time allowed. And yeah, unfortunately, going to be 1.2 time penalties plus that pole down, so 5.2 to add for Antonio Sejudo Caro. And they'll go forward on 46.1 to the cross country. And of course, we'll have the cross country live for you on FEI TV tomorrow. The first horse heads out of the start box at 10:30 Central European time. That is 9:30 British time. And the team over in Montelibretti have been doing such an incredible. The weather has not been in their favour. Here is Gonzalo Sanrolichova with Ed H, owned by Martin Hopstadt, 39.1. Their score coming forwards. Round so far, nicely through that combination. There was a real concern, I think, prior to the show jumping that that combination would come up really quick and really tight and 2 very upright verticals, but actually it's jumped. Yes, it's caught 1 or 2 out, but it's jumped pretty well on the whole. And Gonzalo certainly made it look pretty straightforward. Comes round to the last, pops that really nicely, and through the finish it'll be a quick check of the clock. They came forward on 39.1, but time penalties 2.8, some 7 seconds over the time, so 2.8 time. We'll see him go forward to cross country on 41.9. So if you are just tuning in to us here on FEI TV, welcome to the first of the 2023 FEI Eventing Nations Cup legs. We are in Montelibretti, about 30 minutes north of Rome, and we have got some top class eventing action for you throughout the weekend. All about the show jumping today. Tomorrow it'll be the cross country from 10:30 Central European time. Dual rotations of riders now coming forwards. We've already had the team. We'll update you with those as they come through, but it is Thibaut Champel for France next to line up. Thibaut with Caristo de Bellefond owns this horse alongside Angela Bernard, 36.0. Ooh, a real rattle at the third, but sometimes you need a little bit of lady luck on your side. And unfortunately, the luck had out by the big Oxer at 10. Oh, 9, I should say. Cleared the vertical at 10 afterwards. Nicely done through the treble combination. And gets the last as well. So Thibaut Champel, Sto de Belfont have just added the 1 pole down. They'll go forward on a score of 40.0. As next to come forwards, it is one of the top French riders in Karim Florent Leguarc and Triton Fontaine. This is a horse that actually was a runner-up at Pau at the 5-star at the back end of last year. Had a really tricky 2022, this combination. Had a few occasions, including a couple of really important Nations Cup runs where it just didn't go to plan, but they actually came back out on form in Pau, having missed Protoni, and they won the 3-star here in Montelibretti last weekend as well. They have a little bit of a point to prove, some may feel, with obviously a European Championships this year in Harade, in Normandy in August, and then of course we are on to the Paris Olympic Games. The French team didn't have to worry about qualifying. Their team spots already as the host nation, but this man, he would dearly love to be on that team. He would dearly love to be able to add to his collection, because he was part of the French team who won gold in Rio. And the French have such exciting strength and depth in their horses coming through. They'll have a very clear plan as to what they believe come their home Olympics in 18 months. He's a wonderful character, Karim. He's fast in the cross country as well. And so far, so good in the jumping. Triton Fontaine just comes to the final fence. And Karim Florent Leguarc is going to hear the music play out here in Montelibretti. Clear round number 7 and 28.3. That is enough to give him a podium position going forward to tomorrow's cross country, comfortably inside the time allowed. The French team looking pretty happy watching on there. Karim, could he get another podium finish in Montelibretti? Well, he'll be 3rd going into the cross country tomorrow. In fact, the top 3 have remained totally unchanged. Leah Siegel, SP Fighting Line lead the way, 24.5. Then it is Jarno Verwimp and Mahalia, 25.7. The top 2 remain unchanged, actually. Karen Donkers was 3rd after dressage. She dropped down slightly with a rail down. So Karim Leguarc moves up 28.3 into 3rd. Now it is the turn of Costanza Mantici. Costanza with Daisy's Diamante. This horse was being ridden throughout its entire international career by Costanza. It was actually produced by Canada's Catherine Robinson as a very young horse. It has good experience at this level now. Really nice bit of riding there. Moved up, saw the distance, knew that she was going to have to ride for it a little bit, and just kept moving forwards. Oh, and unfortunately, the Oxer at 6 goes. These fences are really big and square. Five strides down to the combination at 8. Ooh, rattles 9 as well, and unfortunately that does go. So 2 rails down so far for Costanza Mantici. Rattle the last, but that one does stay. So 3 poles down. Costanza Mantici days. They came forward on 38.2. They're inside the time, so 50.2 will be going forward to the cross country. So some 8 combinations still to come forward in the jumping. And a number of them could challenge the top 10 as well. Next to come forward is one of them. Bill Levitt, Hubertus AC. Bill rides this horse he owns alongside Keith Tyson and Liz Murdoch. 30.7 their starting score. Bill's already been in. We'll come to Bill in a second. This isn't Bill. This looks like Mara van der Van. Lexington van der Vinkenhof. They're also on a very competitive score of 28.7. Unfortunately, the third does go. And unfortunately 6 goes as well. So 2 rails down so far. Just another of those that found that distance across there a little bit tight. It's almost ridden better when you've gone inside the timing marker, which just backs horses off the first of those 2 fences, and it just buys you a little bit of time for the second. Unfortunately, 3 rails down does prove expensive. We'll have a look for the time as well. And there'll be some time penalties too. 13.6 in total. That drops them out of contention of the top 10, unfortunately. Now, this actually looks like it is Cecilia Lundberg, and Cascore comes forward on 34.5. Have a little bit of footwork at the second there. It's just ran quite close to the bottom of it. Cecilia owns this horse alongside Hannah Lundberg. Cecilia, one of a number of really nice young Norwegian riders coming through, making their mark at international competition. Jaz Olsen Sanderson, another. And Cascore did a really super job there, just getting out a little bit of bother at the odd upright, but unfortunately the top rail of the Oxer goes at 7. Just dive slightly. That Oxer at 9. So 2 down so far. This horse naturally very, very careful. Really unfortunate 2 rails down. Both at big Oxers out on course. Gives them 8 jumping penalties to add, and 5 seconds over the time, so 2 time penalties as well. It is 0.4 of a penalty for every second over that optimum time. As here comes Alessio Proa and Dollar Boy 9 41.1, their starting score. A little bit of a spook there. Alessio, who's already had one ride and actually a really super clear round, just a fraction of a second over the time. So he picked up 0.4 of a time fault on his first ride on Gata Salto. Dollar Boy. Clear over the third. Plenty wide enough turn there. Rattled the second part of the double in. That just upset the horse a little bit. You could see didn't want to have touched the fence and just spooked away from it almost. Interesting to see them come through this combination because a big horse. And again, the middle part of the combination goes. A real shame, because otherwise a really good round. Dollar Boy 9, 8 jumping penalties to add. That takes them on to 49.1, plus a few times, so 51.1 is their total. So we've got some 4 combinations left to come forward, possibly a couple extra. As now coming forwards to tackle Emmanuel Addis's cross-country track. Definitely not Harold Ambrose. I think Karen Donkers. Ceres de la Brasserie. Karen, who was due to come a couple of horses ago on a score of 33.2. Just seeing a couple of the multiple riders actually jumping a little bit out of their allotted order. That could be because they had to change their plan slightly in the warm-up. Would have been given permission at international level to do that by the officials in charge. Karen, hugely experienced. Unfortunately, the back rail of 4 goes. It's a big wide oxer, that. We've already seen her on one occasion with Fletcher van der Verenhof. Down on him. Part of the Belgian team in the Nations Cup. And the Belgians actually lead the Nations Cup. My maths has been tested, but I have them on a provisional score of 87.7, which sees them around 4 ahead of in the silver medal position as things stand, and then it's a little way back to Switzerland in the bronze medal position as things stand. So the top 3 remain unchanged after dressage to after show jumping. Karen nicely through the combination. It's the last to go, pops it very well. And she'll be a little bit frustrated, I think, with that early pole down. But, Karen Donkers and Ceres de la Brasserie, just the 4 to add. So 37.2 will be her score going forward. Harold Ambrose in just a moment. That is Alex Watian with the red hat on at the back of the screen. As Harold comes forward now with Mountbatten 2 for Austria, 32.6, the score that he brings forward. And this is the more of his 2 rides. The of age now, Mountbatten 2. Lexicon, the horse that he rides in the Nations Cup, and actually the horse that is well placed inside the top 10 in the Nations Cup too. Harold qualified dentist. 41 years of age, I think. Austria, another of those teams bidding for team qualification for the Olympic Games in Paris next year. Number of teams still looking for a qualifying spot, including Australia, one of the big. Couple of opportunities still left for teams to qualify. One, the highest placed team in the Nations Cup series that hasn't already got a ticket qualifying spot, and then the two highest placed teams at the Europeans in Haradapan this summer, who again haven't got a qualifying ticket already, will secure their spots. And from a rider's perspective as well, these events are really important because of their own world ranking points. They can try and make sure they're qualified as an individual. And I think a lip reader would have possibly felt the emotion of Harold's frustration at that last fence going. A time penalty as well, 4.4 to add for Harold Ambrose, Mountbatten too. That's frustrating. Sees him on a score of 37 going forwards. Two of his rides tomorrow. As next to come forward, it is the last of our Spanish riders, Carlos Diaz Fernandez and Everest DV, 38.2, their score to start. Left them in 37th position after the dressage, but still had plenty of movement on that leaderboard. So a clear round inside the time is very, very valuable. I think we've had about 7 of them in total. Spain holding 6 of 6 in the team competition. The first element of the double just goes there for Carlos. It's a horse he owns himself. And again, he's been to a number of major championships, a couple of Olympic Games, been a massive part of the Spanish effort over the last few years. Very involved in the coaching side as well. 2 rails down so far. Just the last to go. Horse worked hard to get through the combination there, clear. And pops the last as well. So Carlos Diaz Fernandez, 38.2 was his score coming forward. It'll be 46.2 plus a couple of time penalties, 0.8 time penalties. So 47 his total to the cross country tomorrow. So just a handful of combinations left to come forward. 2 possibly just still I was going to say it's still waiting for Bill Levitt as well. Henrik Adnovic next to come forward. He comes with Empero. Henrik on a score of 34.7. Henrik, we already saw a little bit earlier on, was due to come forward with Sam F. Didn't actually see them show jump, so looks like he's gone down to just the one ride in this 4-star Nations Cup class. Sweden a team qualification for Paris in Protoni last year, and he'd dearly love to be part of that team that goes. 3 riders, of course, on the team sheet makes it extra competitive. Oh, and unfortunately, the last does go. So it will be 4 penalties to add. And inside the time. Now it is Pietro Maialino, Cosmo La Riviera. Coming forward on 32.7. Actually jumping out of order, Pietro Maialino. Inside the top 15. Really smart. Grey horse. Pietro rides in the uniform of the Equestrian Army, whose base is actually in Montelibretti, of the army. Massively supportive of equestrian sport in Italy. And a lovely big jump of the last. Check of the watch. And a beautiful clear round. So he stays on 32.7. Is that going to be enough to see him climb right up to 10, I think? Nothing to add. Round 8. As now it is Alex Huatian for China with Chico, owned by Kate Willis and Polly Stockton. A new ride for him in 2023. They had a good placing in one of the 3-star classes last weekend. Start run as a combination. Polly would be particularly to Alex in Cheshire. And this combination come forward on 30.1. They were 18th after dressage. There was a lot to like in their test yesterday. Just a slight moment of miscommunication at times, which would have cost them on the leaderboard. But really smart horse for the future, and one I'm sure Alex talked about, looking to make his 3rd Olympic appearance. Be a 4th Olympic. Fact, went to Beijing. And of course, Tokyo. Top 10 at the Olympics previously as well. Unfortunately, that Oxer at 9 goes. It's really frustrating because it's been a good round so far for them. but he clears the last. And Alex Fatian and Chico, definitely a combination to watch for the future. They are home safely. And we'll look forward to seeing them in the jumping tomorrow. Just the one rail down. Alex, who had a win in the 4-star last week with Yilson van Brie. The Chinese team looking to pick up a number of qualifying spots in the 4-star long format here this weekend. As next to come forwards, it is the last combination of this 4-star class in the show jumping, and it is the second ride for Bill Levitt. He rides Hubertus AC, a horse he a score of 30.7 inside the top 10. A clear round inside the top 10 would see him really move up the top 10 as well. He's already assured one in the top 10 because has jumped one super round with RNH Tom Tom Art, who one faultless performance, another. Hubertus AC, owned with Bill alongside Keith Tyson and Liz Murdoch, his long-time supporters. Very big bold jump of the Oxer at 4, and others to cut inside. The time has proven to be so influential in this 4-star class. Hubertus AC down that line really nicely for Bill. And it's interesting actually, because this horse, occasionally you can just see him with a slightly higher. He hasn't got a martingale on. Bill very happy that that's his way of going. Doesn't interfere with it. And it obviously does a very, very good job, because clear round for Bill Levitt. Clear round number 2 for Bill Levitt. He'll have 2 inside the top 10. Going forward to tomorrow's cross country, Hubertus AC looking very, very smart in the jumping phases. And Bill Levitt, watch for Australia, the only Australian actually represented in this 4-star class. Had a win in one of the other international sections earlier on this week. But the leader going forward to tomorrow's cross country, Leah Siegel for Austria, DSP Fighting Line, ahead of Belgium's Jarno Verwimp, 25.7. Karim Florin Leguargue, Triton Fontaine, 28.3 in third. Belgium lead the Nations Cup. Austria are hot on their heels with Switzerland medal position. Who will come out on top? Do join us tomorrow. We will be live Central Europe at 10:30 for all of the cross-country action. We'll see you there.